Hello, and welcome to episode 41 of the SomerKnits podcast. Welcome to episode 41 of the SomerKnits podcast. My name is Summer, and I am your host. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma with my kids and my husband, and I have this podcast primarily to have an outlet for talking about all of my fibery endeavors, but also to create a sense of community. I started the podcast during the later in the pandemic, so this is actually my 2-year podcast anniversary. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for joining me again. And if you are new here, welcome. If you enjoy the video or get anything from it, please give the video a like or a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Both of those things do help extend my reach on YouTube and help me to grow my community. Also, recently, I have started a Discord server, and I will put the link to that in the show notes. I would love to have you join me over on Discord for chat in between podcast episodes. I will try and link everything I talk about in the description box below, but if I forget anything or you have a question, feel free to leave a comment. I try to answer every single one of those, or at least acknowledge that I read it with a heart. So I do appreciate your comments. I love having conversations. You can look me up on Instagram or Ravelry, and both of those things are linked below as well. So without further ado, let's get started with finished objects. Oh, before we start with finished objects, sorry. I tried to film last Friday, and I was having a very rough day. And I was sneezing and my eyes were puffy. The allergies around here are just terrible right now. And so by the end of recording, I just felt like the vibe was totally off. And so I decided to start over and record today. But I am going to use a couple of segments that I recorded last week. So pardon the change of scenery, change of lighting, change of outfit, and the fact that I am like all puffy from the allergies. But my first finished object I actually don't have anymore because it was Mother's Day socks for my mom. So I am going to insert the clip that I did last Friday where I actually talked about them and still had them to show. My next finished object is actually for Mother's Day. So I wanted to get these done fairly quickly. They may still be a little damp because I just blocked them last night. I finished yesterday. But these are the Thickmas Inside Out socks, which is a pattern by Summer Lee. She is local to me and was recently on a season of Knit Stars, but she has a number of different sock sets, and the Thickmas and Thicksgiving and stuff, kind of like they sound, are thicker socks. So they're knit at generally 2 fingering weight yarns held together. So these are all the socks that I've made my mom, I'm pretty sure, are DK weight. I don't think I've made her any fingering weight socks. I just don't finish fingering weight socks very quickly. It takes me a long time. Her foot's a little bit bigger than mine, so you might notice there's a little more fabric on here than there would be if I was knitting for myself. This also might be the tallest pair of socks I've ever knit her. I was trying not to be impatient on the leg and go to the heel too soon because I've definitely done some shorter pairs for her. So tried to do a full-length leg this time. I know she likes to wear them with like her hiking boots and stuff. Anyway, I love the colors here and how they turned out. And I was really torn. Let me show you the inside. I was really torn because even though I started with this pattern on purpose and was following the pattern, I really loved the stockinette side. And I have enough yarn left. I will probably knit another pair of socks with this yarn held exactly the same way. And this time do them either for my daughter or for my sister. But I was really loving, can you see that? The stockinette side and how the colors were working together here. I think it's showing up a little bit darker on camera. Maybe we can, because my light is over here to the side. It's just very vibrant and very fun. I have not trimmed the ends yet because, like I said, I just blocked these last night. And when I block things, I don't trim the ends until after it's blocked and dry and done. I like the ends to settle into place, like the yarn to settle into place during the blocking process and the soaking and the smooshing around, and then trim my ends once I know everything is where it should be. So these are the Thickmas Reverse socks. So you can see that the heel, it's a heel flap and gusset. The heel is done with the knit stitches on the outside, and the toe is done with the knit stitches on the outside. So you knit the cuff, which is a 2x1 rib, and then the foot, the heel, or the leg, the heel, the foot, and the toe, and there's instructions for how to go back and forth so that you end up with the reverse stockinette without having to purl the whole time. So you do knit the sock mostly inside out. You turn it right side out for a few sections. Anyway, I think they're really cute. I really like them. Let me grab the yarn to show you the individual yarns and how they made this together. So this is the Andes sock, which is where you're getting the variegated colors from. So it has the purple, the pink, the green, and the navy all together. And the Andes sock is 55% fine merino superwash, 20% alpaca, and 25% nylon. I have no idea how sturdy an alpaca sock blend is. I don't recall having worked with one before. So I was kind of curious about that. I mean, I realized it has 25% nylon, but it is just very soft and very drapey, like even just still in the skein. I held it double with Woolyboogers, and it is hand dyed, one of a kind. It says this is superwash merino in the colorway Berry Crush. It's the standard sock weight, 400 yards to 100 grams. And it is the pinky purple. And one of the shades of purple in here matched the shade of purple in here so well that I decided to try them together. And I love them together so much more than I love this one separately. This is a great color even on its own. Like, no issues. And this is a fine colorway. It's just not very exciting to me. But together, I think they make a wonderful, vibrant colorway. So I was really thrilled with that pairing. I picked up that Woolyboogers on a whim on local yarn store day when I spent part of my day at Get Stitchin' here in Tulsa. And it worked out perfectly. I had that Andes sock yarn in my bag because I wanted to cast on a pair of socks for my mom, and I was just going to hold that double. But I think this will be better because we've got the superwash wool, the alpaca, and the nylon, and everything together, and hopefully they will hold up over time for my mom. So those were my Mother's Day socks for my mom, and on to the next finished object. The only other finished object that I have for this episode is my most recent Musselburgh hat. If you've been around a while, you might remember me talking about this hat. This is one of the rainbow yarns that's by Threads by Megan Nicole. I loved it in the skein. Up close, you can see how many different vibrant colors there are, and you can see it a little better in the pooling at the crown. But I don't like how, where it almost becomes micro stripes, reads from a distance, because I feel like all you see are the green and the yellow. The orange and red blend together. I feel like you lose the blue and the purple completely. So I feel like maybe they would have been better in something where they could have pooled a little bit more and I could have gotten those flashes of the bright color that you get at the top. But overall, I mean, it's super soft. It's very long. I did the adult small / child large or whatever. And I just knit until I only had, this was a 100-gram skein, and I knit until I had 11 grams left. And once there were 11 grams left, I started the decreases. Now, that's more than I think I actually need for decreases. I think it takes closer to between 5 and 8 grams for the adult small size when I do it. But I did 11 to be safe. So I do have a tiny bit left over, but not a lot. Not even enough. I don't know. Maybe it could be used in something scrappy, but it would have to be something like where scraps could be super tiny. My son has decided that Musselburgh hats are his favorite kind of hat right now, and he likes them slouchy, and he does usually roll the brim up. So I was going to put this in my generic gift stash because I didn't love the color, the way it read from a distance, but he has requested that we keep it in the hat rotation. So it'll probably go into his hat basket. So we won't need it till next winter unless we decide to camp somewhere cold this summer. But the way I deal with hats and gloves and things is that we have a cabinet that's next to the front door so that as we leave, everyone can grab what they need. And it has hats, gloves, sunglasses, and things. Everyone has their own basket in that cabinet. And there are some things we share, like the Halloween Musselburgh that I did last fall. So we share those things, but for the most part, everybody has a basket so that they can just grab from it as we leave. And they can also dump their things back into it as we walk back in the door, because I hate having to pick up hats and gloves and sunglasses from all over the house. In the summertime, I tend to take all their winter hats and pack them up with cedar and lavender and put them in a storage tub. And then I'll put like sun hats, ball caps, goggles, if they need to grab those on the way out the door to go swimming. All those things, sunglasses, anything that they might need quick access to as we leave, or a place to dump it as we come back in. And that is my entire organizational strategy with hats and things. But I think this is my 5th or 6th Musselburgh. I would have to look back at my project pages to know for sure. I love just having one on the go because you don't have to pay any attention to it. Once you get past the increases, you're just knitting in a circle forever. It can feel kind of tedious towards the end when I'm like weighing the yarn constantly to make sure I have enough left for the decreases. Then it can start to feel kind of tedious. But overall, it's just a good one if you don't have a time constraint, just to have in your bag for whenever. It's good social knitting because it's easy to talk and just keep going. It's good walking knitting, sitting in a restaurant waiting on your food knitting. It's just, there's a reason this hat pattern is so popular. So that is my second finished object. It's a Musselburgh. The yarn is from Threads by Megan Nicole, and I will try and find the colorway name and put it up there. I do have another skein of this colorway. This is the sport weight, and I used, I believe, a US size 4 when I did this hat. It was either a 3 or a 4. I knit fairly loosely. Anyway, that was the sport weight. I have a skein of the same colorway on a sparkle sock base. And because I don't love how it reads from a distance in a Musselburgh, I think I'm going to save it for some kind of color work. Because that'll break it up a bit. And I was thinking I have 3 skeins of a charcoal sock weight sparkle base that I got last year at Fiber Christmas, and then the 1 skein of rainbow. So if anyone has a suggestion for a top, I was thinking short sleeve summer top, but a color work yoke or something that has colorwork accents like near the hemline and near the cuffs, like at the edges of the sleeves. Something where it would break it up and I wouldn't get all of this pooling that just looks like green and yellow from a distance, where maybe I'd be able to see some of those other colors coming through a bit more. So anyway, I would love suggestions. If you have suggestions, throw them down in the comments below, and I would really appreciate that. Whips are going to be in no particular order. I just wanted to do a quick update on my temperature blanket. I am using the excavation blanket pattern, but I am using size 8 needles, worsted weight yarn. It is all acrylic because I wanted it to be able to be put in the washer and dryer and withstand kids and dogs and things. So this is my fringe side right now. The excavation blanket has fringe on one side, and it's on one side when you're doing the increases, and then when you start doing the decreases, it switches to the other side, so it's on two different ends. If I do the blanket exactly as written, I know it's written for like sock weight yarn and size 2 needles, but shaping as written, the blanket will be square. And I keep trying to decide if at some point I'm going to stop increasing and just keep doing the diagonal to make it more of a rectangle and less of a square. But I don't know. I haven't been able to decide. But it's getting fairly large. So I'm still at the end of April. So I have 2 days left of April to do. So I just did 2 stripes of the purple. And I believe I have 2 more purple stripes to finish off the month of April. So I got behind and when my wrists were hurting, and I think that this blanket is actually what caused my wrists to hurt. So it is getting kind of heavy to work on, so I work on it down low in my lap. But I don't know what it was about it. So I have started doing only up to 2 rows at a time. I have slowly been catching up. I did multiple days this week. I've managed to get in 2 rows. And sometimes it's just like 1 in the morning and then wait and do 1 in the afternoon or evening, and that helps spread it out. But you can see I've put markers in for the months. Oh, it's so long I can't even hold it up. So here's January and February, and then you can see it warming up in March, except where we take our ski trip. And then you can see it warming up more in April. And pretty soon I'll be putting a marker in for April and starting on May. May is going to look fairly similar to April, but probably with less of the, I don't know if there's any teal popping up in May. So it's been a fun project, and I'm excited to have the finished object. I'm kind of wondering about, I was originally going to put it out in my living room, but oh, don't lose any stitches. Wouldn't it be pretty in my bedroom on the back of my knitting chair? I think it would be lovely there. I just rearranged my bedroom over the weekend. I know I'm totally getting sidetracked, but I rearranged my bedroom over the weekend and it just feels more open to me. I'm going to talk about a book later in the episode. I'm actually going to use the footage I filmed on Friday because I think I spoke pretty well about the book. But it's called How to Keep House While Drowning, and I'm going to talk about it later. But I think taking to heart the words, "You do not exist to serve your space exists to serve you," has helped me rethink some of the spaces in my house and how they're set up. And I'd been wanting to rearrange the bedroom a little bit for a while. So now my knitting corner has moved a little bit, but it also means that I can have a plant corner in my room, and I'm very excited about that. But the last 2 nights, the fan's been on high, and it's been cooler in the evenings, and I have wanted a blanket. And I didn't want just any blanket. I wanted like a knit blanket. So I'm considering, I realized it would be the end of the year before this one's ready. But I may take one of the hand knit blankets that's in the living room on the big ladder that's behind me a lot when I film. Although this may be my new location, I may take one of those and bring it into the bedroom and use it here because I don't think they're getting used out there, and I would really like to use those pretty things that have been made for me. So I know that I have said over and over again that I really wanted to try some stranded color work. I think I maybe did some 20 years ago, early on in my knitting journey, but I hadn't done any in forever. And I had kind of tried starting the sea glass tee at one point, but it was more of a yarn problem than a color work problem. I think my mental hang up with stranded color work was thinking that I instantly needed to be able to knit stranded color work with two hands. And then a few people that I follow on Instagram showed themselves knitting stranded color work, and they were literally just dropping a color and picking up the next color. And yes, it's slower, but it's a place to start, and it's valid. So I finally actually got off my butt and gave it a try. I started I believe it's called like the cabin stocking or the cozy cabin stocking. Anyway, I've made a lot of progress. So it calls for size 6 and 8 needles, but I am such a loose knitter, even in color work apparently. And I couldn't find my small circumference size 6s, that I have done the cuff in size 5s and the body in size 7s, and that has worked out just fine. The fabric is great. I am using just acrylic from Michaels. This is Impeccable by Loops and Threads. There's a Michaels near me. I wanted to use inexpensive yarn for this first stranded color work journey because I wanted to make some Christmas stockings. I know I'm probably going to use acrylic for storage reasons, not having to worry as much about bugs and critters and whatever over the summer because they're put away most of the year and only out in December. But also, if I messed up, I messed up, and the yarn wasn't precious, and it's not a big deal, and it's like just giving myself permission to hate it in the end if I want and not worry about it. So how do I want to say this? The white feels too white. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but when you're looking at it in person, the white is the color that looks the most plastic. So it reminds me of like needlepoint from my grandma or great grandma in the 1980s. It just reminds me of those old Christmas decorations that we dig out that were done by older relatives and stuff. And you know what? That's fine. I may not use this stocking at Christmas, and that's okay with me too. Like, if I don't end up using it, it's fine. This was great practice. I got to practice small sections where I didn't have to worry about the floats. I got to practice sections where there were very large floats, and I needed to practice catching my floats. Same with some of the floats in the hearts were fairly long. And now I'm down to a section where the repeats are very small, and so I'm not going to have to catch floats. I am currently in the process of putting in the short row heel. I love the way this heel is done. It's different than short row heels I've done before. It says it's a no-hole short row heel. Anyway, I love it. I've just passed the turning point, and I'm ready to come back out. So doing the heel turn right now, and then it's just this motif the rest of the way. And you know, I know a lot of knitting podcasters show you their floats. Mine aren't perfect. This is learning. This is practice. And everybody who show, well, not everybody, but a lot of people that I watch that show their floats, they're like, look how neat they are. Okay, they're not perfect. And that's okay. because I was learning. So you can see these long floats that I did not catch in the beginning. And then I figured out I should be catching my floats because I do stuff our stockings very full. So if I end up using it, it's likely that something could catch on it if there's long floats to be caught on. So, it's like as I went, and I haven't woven in any of the ends yet, but as I went, I feel like they got better, and that's okay. Like I said, this is learning, this is practice. We all need pieces where we feel comfortable just letting go and learning on. It is so big, which is hilarious, but maybe it was intended to be this long. Our current Christmas stockings are probably only to here, even with the foot and stuff. So this would be much longer than what we have currently, but that's okay. The ones that I made before are just some basic cabled chunky weight Christmas stockings. So I want to do a few more of these, and I do actually have nicer, less plastic looking acrylic to use to do some, and it's the Knit Picks Brava, and it's sitting there waiting, but I really wanted to make sure, A, of all, was I going to enjoy doing this, and B, of all, was I going to make a finished product that I felt good about, and I really think I am. So maybe I'm open to a whole lot more. There you can see the jog in the rounds. I did not worry about that at all because it is going to hang on the fireplace, and that isn't even going to be a thing. So anyway, Christmas stockings, very happy with that. Might be getting into more color work. It won't be the only thing I do because I am so picky about motifs and what I like, and I don't like things that are super angular generally. I like curvy lines and stuff, so that kind of eliminates a lot of color work patterns, but I am enjoying that, and I do think I want to do more of it. Next work in progress, I started, so for Mother's Day, I wasn't sure if I was going to do socks or something different because in the beginning I wasn't super motivated to do socks, and I wasn't sure that I would want to get those done in time. So I actually also cast on the Storm Shawl by Joji Locatelli, and I am using a skein of hand-dyed yarn by Southern Skeins, and it was one of the ones from last summer. It was called Watermelon. I guess this is the right side. Yes. It's all bunched up, so it's hard to show you. But it doesn't really matter, right side, wrong side. The whole thing is in garter with drop stitch rows and some eyelet rows. But it is a crescent-shaped shawl that is asymmetrical, I believe. But it's done with, like I said, garter and short rows and drop stitch rows. And the goal for this was to be a super lightweight, like it's going to block open quite a bit, lacy almost type shawl scarf that my mom could wear with like office attire, could like loosely wrap and pin or tie or tuck. Because she has like some silk scarves and a number of different things that she wears to work. And so that's the goal with this. It is done on, I want to say, size 7 needles. I have a lot of things on size 7 needles right now. So it's done on size 7 needles. It's supposed to take a single skein of fingering weight yarn. There is a contrast mini that came with this, and I'm going to wait all the way till the end to decide, but it is a yellow color. Because I think this was called Watermelon, and maybe the yellow was called Lemonade or something. But I could do a contrast bind off with that yellow, or I could just stick to the pink and green from this skein. So this is it in the skein. And it's reading, you're not getting quite as much of the green. Maybe you can see that it's like very, there you go. So there's it looks yellower on screen for some reason, at least to me. But it is actually like a pale lime green and then various shades of pink to make this watermelon colorway. And I think that the description of the shawl said that it worked well with hand-dyed yarn because the pooling doesn't bother you because of the way it's all broken up and the garter sections, and then the way it's all going to be like wound around the neck and floofed together. The colors will just kind of mix and mingle and pool and puddle. So I'm enjoying this so far. It is fairly easy once you get going and you learn the different sections. So I'm not constantly having to look at the pattern, and I like that because I can take it with me on the go. But right now, I can't take it anywhere where my mom is because since I gave her the socks for Mother's Day, I will give her the shawl for her birthday, which is in July. So I have plenty of time. And it's just been a really enjoyable knit so far. So I may have to make myself one, pick another of those really precious skeins of hand-dyed yarn that I just couldn't decide what to do with, but I knew I wanted to be able to wear and not on my feet, and do myself a storm shawl. So I'll see when I finish this. I don't always repeat patterns right away, so I might have to take a break from it and come back to it, but it's definitely one I could see myself doing again. It's just been a very enjoyable knit. I like that by the time I get tired of any particular section, I'm on to the next section. But it's not so many different sections that I have to carry the pattern around all the time. It's like, once you figure out what you're doing, okay, now it makes sense, and you just keep going. So very much enjoying the storm shawl. I think the next project is something you might remember if you've been around for a while. So longtime viewers might remember that I have been trying to make my husband a pair of well-fitting socks for a while now. I struggle with sock sizing, probably because I'm such a loose knitter. But I had started out trying to make him the DRK everyday socks, and I knit them up, and they were just too big. I made him close his eyes, and I tried them on his foot, and I was like, nope. And I knew as I was going along that they were just going to be too big. So I cast on for the Bearpaw Socks, which are the DK weight version of the DRK everyday socks. And I got to just past the increases. I had started the ribbing, and it just was looking so big again. It's a struggle. So my options were to go down a needle size or go down a sock size in the pattern. And I opted to go down a sock size in the pattern so that I didn't have to start over and reknit the whole toe. So I put in a lifeline and I ripped back and took out the last set of increases. So I just went down 4 stitches, I believe. And now I've been trying to carry it around with me to get started. So I'm, on the foot. It's a toe-up sock pattern if you're not familiar with it. The toe of his sock is done in a Regia 4-ply. I think I have the ball band in here. So it's, a Regia design line. And it's got all these different colors in it. And then I don't think I have the ball band for this. This color is mushroom, and I don't think you can really tell on screen. Maybe you can see that it is atonal, and there's so many subtle shifts in that light taupe color that it is. And, just, I know I've bought him crazy socks in the past, but I really feel like these colors suit him. This is a no nylon sock yarn. Let's see if I have the ball band down here. It is probably in this basket somewhere next to me. I think it was in this bag. And I love this bag because it's easy to stick in my backpack, but it has no handle. So if I am trying to walk and knit, it is the wrong bag to have. So this was Forest Lane Fiber Company. Sorry. It is the Merino Tencel sock. So it is 85% USA Merino and 15% Eucalyptus Tencel. Fingering weight 415 yards to 100 grams. And the colorway name is Portobello. I knew it had something to do with mushrooms. So that was the ball band. I forget why they were having a sale, but a while back they had a big sale, and I picked up 2 sock yarns. This one and a deep plum burgundy color, maybe a wine, that I thought, okay, those could be nice neutrals to make my husband some socks. And then I got a sweater's quantity of a gray, and I swatched to do the single malt in that gray. And I'd have to hold it double to do that, but I have plenty of yardage for that, and I think I may end up doing that. But for now, I thought I'd try to conquer these socks. Our anniversary is June 19th, so there's that. His birthday is in July, so there's that. I don't know, I've got all these options of when I could give him these things just based on when I get them done. But I don't want to make myself resent doing it, so I'm just going to do it as and when I can. It's kind of a lot, but I have 2 more works in progress. One of them, which has become a mess and a half floating around in my purse, and I mean that literally, is this random little crochet washcloth. So my daughter's class did a mock trial at the federal courthouse downtown, and I was warned that they might not let me take knitting needles through security. So I packed a ball. Like I said, now it's a wad, but it was a ball of Katia Tobago, which is just a cotton yarn. It's super soft. It's a lot softer than the sugar and cream yarn or some of those other crafters cottons that you see for dishcloths. So this will probably be a shower washcloth, bathroom washcloth, because it's so soft. It could be a face cloth because it's definitely soft enough for that. And it's one I'd had in deep stash. This has been around since the early to mid 2000s, and I just hadn't used it. I have an entire basket of cotton. I used to make so many dishcloths, and I used to gift whole sets of dishcloths to people. And I used to be in some groups where they sent you, I think my phone is going off and probably vibrating what's going on over here, but where they sent you 2 to 4 lines a day of the dishcloth pattern, and it was a mystery and you didn't know what the picture was till the end of the month. I did a lot of those things before I had kids, and when I had a job where there was lots of downtime for me to knit. But anyway, I have a set of nylon crochet hooks from right after 9/11, when they didn't want you to take knitting needles on the plane, and straight needles were much more in common use than circulars were at the time. So they didn't want you to take knitting needles, and even metal crochet hooks were questionable for a while. So I have a set of nylon crochet hooks. They don't show up really as dangerous or threatening on the x-ray machines. So I put a nylon size K crochet hook and this ball of cotton yarn, and I thought, if they take the crochet hook away, it was maybe a couple of dollars, maybe 20 years ago even, because I was a crocheter before I was a knitter. So I've had nylon crochet hooks for a long time. They didn't take it away. They let me and my ball of cotton and my crochet hook go through, so I was able to keep my hands occupied while they were doing the mock trial. It is just single crochet because I don't crochet a whole lot anymore, and so that's all I can do without super having to pay attention to it. But I've just been letting it hang out since then. I've got a paper clip keeping the yarn from getting pulled back through. That's my trick with crochet. I put a paper clip on the end. You could be fancier than that, but I had a paper clip laying around. So just a little washcloth. Eventually it'll get done, but it's not a big priority. It was just something to start, and when it's done, it's done. I think instead of worrying about making it square, I'm just going to go until the ball of yarn runs out. So it's probably going to be like a longer washcloth, but I'm happy with it. It's very soft, and it's good practice for getting my hands back into the rhythm of crocheting, because I keep getting tempted by those granny stripe blankets. And eventually I may have to do a scrap granny stripe blanket. It will probably take me an eon, but the results might be worth it. Okay, now that we're done with this hot mess express, let's move on to the last work in progress. I did not have this started when I filmed last Friday, so this is a whole new clip. On all the others, I couldn't remember what I'd already said, what I said when I was filming last Friday. Like, I just felt so discombobulated, and it's so hard for me to refilm things because I just get confused. So my final work in progress for this episode is a Tolsta Tee. I was waiting for this pattern. I should have applied to test knit, like I really should have, but at the time I was still test knitting. I think I was still working on the sibling sweater when the Tolsta went into testing, and I wasn't sure how soon the Midland cardigan was going to go into testing, and I had already said, hey Laura, I really want to test that. So I didn't apply. And I had also applied for a few other things. But anyway, I had been waiting and waiting for this pattern to come out. I picked out the yarn. I swatched once she put out the gauge measurements, and I am using, I don't know if I have a ball band. I don't. This is Haiku Simplicity, and I picked it up on sale a couple of years ago. Not quite a couple of years ago. It's been a little while, but it was before one of my local yarn stores moved. It was Get Stitchin', and they had not yet moved to their new, bigger location. Anyway, I saw the yellow, and I fell in love with it. And there were 6 skeins of yellow, I think, or 7 skeins of yellow, maybe. No, 6. And 2 skeins of this aqua color, which I love. So originally I was going to do something striped, and I went back and forth, and I do love them together. But ultimately, I chatted with the people who are currently in my Discord, on my Discord server, and I decided to do just a contrast cast on, and I will do a contrast bind off on the sleeves and on the bottom. So it's just going to be this tiny bit of aqua accent. So I'll have plenty of aqua left to do something else with. I just don't know what yet. And I have opted to do the lace pattern that one of the testers did. My needles, I need to put it on a bigger cable. It would be so much easier to show you. But I have ripped this yoke back twice. So I've knit the yoke twice now, or 3 times now. Trying to get the spacing right on the flower lace bits. So if you buy the pattern, it comes with a whole couple of page document of modifications, different ideas, ways that you could stripe it, that you could add texture, that you could, all these different things. And one of the testers did this lace modification where they did this floral motif spread out evenly, and they may have done the whole body of the Tolsta. I don't know. They didn't post very many pictures, and they didn't post any notes in their Ravelry page at all. 0. And the notes in the pattern modification document just say, here's a link to the lace motif. The chart you get and the written instructions, if you go to the link for the lace motif, are limited and brief, but is also a 12-row repeat, and the lace is much closer together. So you end up with so much more open space on the front of the shirt. I didn't want the whole front of the shirt to be open space. I wanted spread out little flowers, just like the tester had done. And because she didn't put any notes and there wasn't any suggestion on how far apart these things were at, it just said evenly. It took me a while to math it out the way I wanted it. So I am going to put extensive notes in my Ravelry project page. And if Ravelry is not accessible to you, I am happy to send you those notes. I'm going to sit down and write them out nicely later because I have the page I've just been scribbling on to make sure I got all the math right. And then I'm close to adding in my third row of flowers. So the first row across the front that has flowers has just 3 spread out, I believe. Yeah, across the front. And then down below it, they're offset so that they fall in the gaps. So I have increased the spacing between flowers across the row, but I've also added in stockinette rows between the repeats going down as well. Because in the chart that it links to, as soon as you finish a row of flowers, you start the row of offset flowers below it, like immediately. And that was just too close together. It was too much. And it was worth it to me to rip back now and get it exactly the way I want it, because this does knit up fairly quickly. I cast it on Saturday morning. And like I said, I've knit the yoke 3 times now, basically. I didn't have to redo the short rows. I just ripped back to where I started the lace motif, which I waited to start till the short rows were totally done and everything was going in the round and was just stockinette if you were following the pattern. So this will be my Tolsta Tee. I love the loose open gauge. I am using the needle sizes suggested in the pattern, and I'm doing size 4. But like I said, I am going to add extensive notes to my Ravelry project page so that anyone who wants to do the lace motif doesn't and bothers to read my project page does not have to reinvent the wheel, because I will have done this math for you, at least based on the size 4. Today is the last day of school for the school year for both my kids. And this morning I got to go watch my oldest participate in a tradition at their school that's called bridge crossing, where they move from the lower school up to middle school. And so I'm having all kinds of feels about that right now. All up in my feelings. I know I've mentioned that I had some feelings, apprehension about being a middle schooler parent, and just that change. But it's also very exciting, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. So just all kinds of feelings. But I don't want to dwell on that too long. We're going to have some fun after school and hopefully go get froyo and just enjoy a little bit of downtime before summer takes off and goes crazy, as it is wont to do. So I just want all the knitting's done, by the way. No more knitting, I don't think. Nope. No more knitting. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about books and things and what I've been reading. There's been, books with the kids. We're on the second Wings of Fire, and we are almost finished with that one. And then my daughter and I are on the 3rd book in the second set of 5 in the Rick Riordan universe. So there's the first set, I think, is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I could have that backwards. And then there's a next set of 5. Anyway, we've started the 3rd book in the second set of 5. And that is going well. Love it. I've already read it. But my daughter really enjoys those books, and I can highly recommend them. The Wings of Fire series is a lot more violent than I realized. I just don't think I had any concept of how violent those books were. And she's read all those books. She's read them years ago. but we're listening to them in the car. And man, I'm trying not to get emotionally invested in the lives of these dragons, but I am. My most recent reads from the library have been a couple of Dorinda Jones books, which the current one I'm in is number 11 in her Grave series. Because, like, the first book is something like First Grave on the left, and then there's, like, Second Grave on the right, or whatever. This is, like, 11th grade Grave Past Midnight or something. I don't remember the name. Anyway, it's number 11, and I'd been waiting on my library to get a copy of it forever, and now they have a digital copy, and I've been able to start it. Before that, I listened to another one of hers, which was A Hard Day for a Hangover, and that's the third book in one of her series about a girl named Sunshine. Anyway, it's a good series, and that third one just came out recently, so I enjoyed that. I listened to the most recent Janet Ivanovich Stephanie Plum novel. I love those. I think they're hilarious. I like that they make me laugh out loud no matter where I am. Sometimes that's a little weird listening to them with headphones on, but I do love that they always make me laugh. And the lady who reads the Janet Ivanovich books is the same lady who reads the Dorinda Jones novels. So it is Lorelei King, and I enjoy listening to her. So I'm still on that book 11 of the Grave series. I did recently listen to Daisy Jones and the Six, which is by Taylor Jenkins Reid, same lady who wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And it was... I'm hoping I enjoy the series more. And it's not that the book was bad. It's just that I don't like things written documentary style. I don't even watch documentaries usually. I don't even watch mockumentaries. Like, I just don't like that style. But I'm told the TV series is a little bit of interview and a whole lot of flashbacks. And I think I will do better with that. I just like a story to flow better. And so that interview style, documentary style is not generally my thing. But I did make it through the whole book. And it was decent, but it wouldn't be my first choice. I do want to try some other books of hers because I enjoyed Malibu Rising. I really enjoyed The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I do want to check out some other books by Taylor Jenkins Reid. But Daisy Jones and the Six would not be my first choice from her. If you're going to try her for the first time, I think maybe I'd stick with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It is still an interview, kind of, but more of it is told as a story and not just so-and-so and then what they're saying. So-and-so and what they're saying. I don't know. That may be a terrible way of describing it, but that's what I've got. The only nonfiction book that I have read recently is How to Keep House While Drowning. And I cannot recommend that book enough, especially if you are neurodiverse in any way, or you question if you might be, or you just constantly feel like you can't keep up. Maybe you do feel like you're drowning. I took so much from that book, and I felt so seen and so validated. Not every single section applied to me, but I feel like if you are in any way overwhelmed by your home or all the things, that it is a very powerful book because she reminds you constantly that you and your feelings and your struggles are valid, and that, like she says things like the dishes are morally neutral, and it caused me to think about some things in ways I hadn't thought about them before, because like I had never thought about the dishes in terms of morality or the laundry or whatever. But basically she says things that make you think about how you've internalized how you think about various, she calls them care tasks, like, house tasks, feeding yourself, making food, whatever. You know, a lot of us have internalized certain values associated with those. And after hearing the way she spoke about those things and her perspective, it made me step back and go, okay, these are not concrete thoughts that I'd had before, but I can tell I'm treating it this way. And so why is that? And so I just, like I said, I can't recommend this book enough. When I posted about it on my Facebook, there were tons of people that chimed in and said that they had gotten a lot out of it too. So if you have access to it at your library, or I listened to it on audiobook, How to Keep House While Drowning is an amazing book, and I will definitely put it in the description box below, as well as the author's name. I found it to be very worth my time, and I very rarely read or listen to self-help books at all. I don't usually enjoy nonfiction. I don't usually get sucked into it. It does not, with no plot line, it doesn't motivate me to finish it, but this book had an impact, and I really wanted to share that, because if it could help even one person who sees this, then it'll absolutely be worth the time I took to talk about it, because it's just, everybody needs to know that they're not alone in how they feel about things, and they're not the only one overwhelmed by their house. And like when she said, you are not there to serve your space is there to serve you, I was like, how could my home, my space, better serve me as opposed to me constantly feeling chained to it, like to the cleaning cycle and the picking up cycle, and her suggestions are just so real world and helpful, and it's not a one size fits all solution. It is making you think about what would work for you and what would help you and how you can achieve that. And it's not about perfection. It's about progress. And I love that. I do have to run away, and I may come back to this and add a little bit before I get around to doing the editing. The editing is always something I have to psych myself up for a little bit, because I don't think that I'm the best at it. But I'd love to know what you're reading. I'm constantly adding to my to-be-read list. I've started tagging things in the Libby app. So let me know what you're reading. Let me know what you're knitting on. Just, all the things. Oh, and happy 2-year podcast anniversary to me. And maybe I should surprise somebody with a prize, something. I don't know. If you made it all the way to the end, any comment that you leave will enter you for a chance for some kind of surprise. And I haven't decided what it is, because I totally didn't prepare for this, but that's okay. I think I would just like to share some of the joy of having my 2nd podcast anniversary. So until next time, unless I come back to add on to this, who knows? Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. Hop into my Discord server if you're looking for another place to chat, and just have a wonderful day. I hope you get time to do something you really love. See you next time.